Hi, good day, everyone. My name is Davishna, and I'm a manager at Climate Asia. Climate Asia is a nonprofit dedicated to strengthening the climate ecosystem in Asia through capacity building of organizations, focusing on talent strategy, capacity building, and thought leadership. We launched Conversation of Change, which is a video interview series centered around the most pertinent crisis of our times, climate change. Conversations of Change attempts to synthesize perspectives around climate action, skills, talent, and the journey of various climate leaders and their role in the climate ecosystem. Today, we have Saif, who is a content creator and sustainability consultant, joining us. Thank you, Saif, for being here. Saif has worked as a sustainability consultant in the Middle East, helping major clients in the region develop their sustainability ESG strategy, measure their social impact, and also help them with their non-financial disclosures. He is very well versed and keeps himself updated with the latest sustainability trends in the consumer, energy, and social media industries. Saif also drives his happiness and joy from giving back, and he believes giving back his knowledge, time, and wealth towards certain issues like education, climate change, sustainability per se, can make the world a slightly better place. So he allocates the rest of his non-work hours into making funny skit-based videos around these topics and creates a direct impact on over 70,000 of his followers. Welcome again, Saif, and thank you for joining us. We'll go right into the questions. I just wanted to understand what a typical day as an employee and part-time content creator looks like for you. And could you maybe describe the work done that you create a knowledge pool and around climate change, sustainability through videos and reels on social media?
Yeah, there are pretty two things to it. Like, one is where I get the knowledge from and how I communicate the knowledge. So basically, my day is kind of hectic because, I work in a consulting firm and which, takes around 12, 13 hours of my day. And content creation is something that I do to unwind and to unlearn and relearn it. So typically 13 hours of my day goes into consulting work, and then maybe 5-6 hours extra goes into thinking about content, about editing, and totally around 17-18 hours of my day goes into this. So yeah, but that's the beauty about it, like, where I get a chance to share whatever I learn through my professional experience to an audience which is kind of, it's a niche, right? Sustainability. So sharing to that particular audience, it keeps me happy, and that way I get to share a lot of information firsthand. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Could you maybe elaborate more on what are the various factors involved in creating this content, and when did you make this big decision to sort of start doing this?
I'll go to the second point first, which, like, when did I start? So if you ask me, like, when did I start creating content, then it was like 10-12 years ago, where I used to make funny videos. Particularly the audience was strictly related to my family members. But then during pandemic, and I started to realize, I need to do something on my own so that, keeps me happy. Started as a hobby, like, even now it's kind of, I do it as a hobby. Then I made these videos, but then I used to share it only with my sister. She used to feel it used to be really cringe. But then my younger cousin who came home, and he pretty much liked it, and that gave me a bit of confidence to just post it online. And then that's how I started the journey. But content creation as a whole it has a very different dynamics to it. Like the knowledge is just one bit of it. Like, thinking about ways of communicating and then writing a script around it so that everyone can understand. And it also depends who your audience is. Like, if it's a technical audience, and it's a different way of communicating. That's where I do, like, that's how my professional work life goes. Like, that's like talking to the professional world. And this is kind of a world which is very different, where people have very varying degrees of understanding about climate change and sustainability. So making sure that everyone is onboarded into this particular conversation around climate change or sustainability, it's kind of hard. But overall, I feel with experience, you realize that, okay, you need to simplify a lot more so that the common man understands. And that also helps the professional world for me personally, because when I simplify things to the common man, I understand, like, what are the challenges that, people are looking for, or what are the challenges that they are facing when it comes to understanding certain things about climate change. So overall, it's a mixed bag, but it's something that I feel over long term would give me a bit of satisfaction the way I'm leading my career. So these are two things I want to go in parallel. So I don't think one is better than the other. I feel both has to go in parallel. So that's how I'm looking at it. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And I think one of the best things about your videos are how simplified it is. I share it with all my friends who don't know a single thing about environment, and they're like, oh, okay, now we understand it, rather than, reading like a document or watching taking part in a webinar. I think the simplicity is like the best part of your videos. Yeah.
And that's something that when I started creating content, like, I used to ask my friends about certain things, and they were stuck in the era of just tree plantation, as a measure of sustainability. But that's not the case, right? And we can't blame people, common audience, who for not understanding it. It's mostly communication as well. So I feel, certain things like media has to change the way they're communicating rather than being very aggressive. A soft approach is what I'm looking at. So soft approach also works. So yeah, it's a different experiment. Let's see how it goes. But yeah.
No, absolutely agreed. Yeah, I mean, your followership on Instagram sort of speaks for itself on how many people can relate, and I see a lot of interaction in the chat box as well, as to people saying like, oh, now I get it. So yeah, no, good stuff. So I mean, of course, you've spoken about how you started this as a hobby, and then your cousin sort of motivated you. But was there any other inspiration of you becoming a sustainability influencer? Did any other individual inspire you, or was it mostly through your work?
So before this, there was like, I used to not create video content. I used to create carousel kind of posts. So I used to spend 8 hours my day to create these kind of posts, and that is particularly inspired by my friends at FinShots. So I don't know if you have heard of FinShots. It's mostly they are into simplifying finance and stuff. So they used to make a lot of carousel posts where they used to share stories about finance world, something related to stock market, business. And that's where I got my inspiration from, I would say, where back in 2020, one of the founders is my classmate. So I talked to him, and then I felt, no, that is something that I can do in the field of sustainability. But I did that for almost 9 months. But then I realized that people are not interacting much with or engaging much with that form of content. Maybe sustainability is too boring, as from when you read when you read it. So that's when I felt, let me experiment and start making videos. But from video perspective, I think there were a lot of these finance influencers who were kind of doing it. And then I realized, okay, I can do a similar thing in the field of sustainability. And anyways, I used to create all these videos, right? And that was not a challenge for me to kind of do, communicate sustainability knowledge in the form of videos, because I used to always create funny videos and stuff. So it was kind of a natural progression. But yeah, I think it's more, but I give more credit to FinShots for that particular kind of motivation that they gave me initially, in terms of, putting out content, and people are actually learning something new on social media.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. So you come from a background of electrical engineering, and you have a master's in sustainability consultancy. How would you sort of describe your career journey into this space, and what have been like the major key learnings so far?
See, I think I did electrical engineering, just like Indian, parents wanted you to be an engineer, and you become an engineer. So I did, it was kind of same thing for me. Like I did that. And then towards the end of my final year of engineering, I was like, what now? Like, what do I do? Like, I don't know. It's not something that I want to do for the rest of my life. And then it was kind of a journey, I would say, where a lot of struggles too, like, to understand what I really like. I took a year break after my engineering to just realize, to understand what I like to understand myself better. Then I realized, okay, renewable energy is a field that I like. Like in entire 4 years, I just liked one subject, and that was renewable energy. And that's where I started. Like, I feel, that helped me. I picked that subject. I started reading more about it. I thought, okay, this is it. Like, renewable energy is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I worked here and there first in a couple of solar firms. But then I realized the field of sustainability is much more than energy. Like, so that's when, through my research, I felt, I need to do some form of master's degree, which gives me understanding or an introduction, introducing me to the whole sphere of sustainability. And that's when I went to UK, Leeds, and then I did this master's in sustainability. And so overall, it's a journey where from not being in this field of sustainability to entering this field and then start creating content. So it's mostly it's been like that. Like the journey has been kind of different, but I get a lot of questions like on these things, like can we do the same thing what you have done in terms of from being in a totally different background to coming to a field of sustainability. How easy it is, like there's no problem in going through same field like the way I did, but we have to also understand the field of sustainability has matured a lot. Like I did this back in 2017. Right now we have a lot of free resources online, YouTube or a lot of these content that is already available, which introduces you to the field of sustainability. So you don't need a master's to get introduced to the field of sustainability right now. But back in 2016, 2017, there was kind of minimal content on the internet on like simplified everything about sustainability.
I'm sure there were a lot of transferable skills from your electrical engineering, jobs and your studies. So, I mean, it's the transition seems to be one that would have been a little more easier for you. Can I say that, or what? It just was like a sort of a smooth transition?
Of course, like right now when I read technical documents, for example, to create content, for example. For me as a person, it becomes easier for me to understand those terminologies because these terminologies were part of my bachelor's degree, for example. Even though I didn't understand most of what was taught during college days, but I knew, but those concepts are still, in some form or the other, it has helped me even now. Like, when I talk about energy or when I talk about how electricity, is being transferred, and all those things are something that I know from my previous experience, and right now it becomes, my content journey becomes more easier, my work journey becomes more easier, because sustainability is more like a social sciences degree, not an engineering degree. At least it's kind of transforming right now, but it used to be like that. So for me, understanding all these technical terminologies, yeah, of course, my engineering background in renewable energy or electrical engineering has helped me a lot. Yeah.
That sounds great. So speaking of content creation, the market of content creators has grown substantially in the last few years, which has advanced the public dialogue on environment sustainability. Do you believe that as a content creator yourself engaged in this field, it has facilitated in the emergence of some ground level climate change action?
In terms of awareness, of course, like, the kind of awareness level that, content creators can reach it's like, beyond a certain limit. But I feel in terms of action, it's kind of limited because I also feel ground level, having your presence in ground level is very much important. But I do get a lot of messages saying that, oh, I did this because I watched your videos. I did that. Because I watched this video of yours. Can we get a part 2 of this? And, how do we move, ahead? So I do get those. But I also feel the awareness level is also very high. Like, right now, there's people are kind of curious about, okay, what does this field look like? Okay, this is sustainability. Oh, that's also sustainability. So they are kind of confused as well, but they're also open into learning these messages of sustainability. So but yeah, overall awareness level is very high, and it'll only increase. And ground level work, I feel that's where collaboration comes in. So unless we collaborate with people from different spheres of sustainability, I feel the impact will be low. But otherwise, overall, it's a good feeling too. Like when you get these messages, you feel like there is some form of purpose to your existence, and yeah, overall, yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, the inspiration that you, the content creators, sort of, have on individuals like me are, I think that's what also encourages you, that a lot of people are doing it. Let's do it as a team, and we can bring about change.
Yeah.
What are some of the feedbacks you get on your content usually? What sort of content has the audience resonated with a lot more, and what sort of hasn't resonated with them so much?
I feel they like simple content. I feel it's also about, right now I'm only on Instagram. So Instagram audience is a bit different. So mostly I feel it's mostly about unwinding from their hectic day life. They don't want something more serious. So I feel they need some form of maybe drama or some form of skit, some form of laughter that people can so that they don't feel like it's a task watching a video. So videos of that kind really does well. And if it's about just serious conversation about certain topic, those are something that doesn't get views. But I feel as a content creator, I have to do justice to both sides. Like there's a form of element of entertainment, but also there's a form of knowledge transfer. Both can go hand in hand, but there are some topics where you can't. So I think those are sensitive topics, but I still try to talk about it. For example, talking about conferences in climate change conference, what's happening there. So those can be kind of simplified, but you cannot make it really, really funny kind of a thing. But those are important to be shared as well. But then there are topics like tips to reduce wastage, for example. So those can be made funny, made it more relatable to a wider audience than the other ones that's very niche kind of sustainability audience. So I feel it's a mix of both. You as a creator, you have to try to balance both these things so that it's not just funny, silly videos that you do, but also nudging in some serious bit into the videos. It really helps, I feel.
Okay. Amazing. We'd love to hear how you sort of manage, your work-life balance with work 12 hours of the day, and then, just thinking about how to create content and actually creating content. I feel that's very time-consuming, and also, taking time out for your hobbies. So we'd love to hear how you manage the whole work-life harmony, I should say. Yes.
So that's why to be honest, I struggle a bit with managing both these things together. But it's a choice that I've made, right now. So I don't want it to be just content, because I feel then the purpose behind the page goes away. I will look at it from a business perspective. I look at it from how do I make money perspective, rather than knowledge sharing perspective. So that's why I chose two parallel paths of having a full-time job as well as creating content. It's kind of hard, but it's also the one bit of my my content creation journey also gets covered in my job. I get to learn new things in my day job, and then thinking about how to communicate that it's a different it's the content creation aspect of it. But overall, 12 hours of day, it's also linked to the content creation job, where certain topics which I would have never learned if I would have just done content creation. So then it takes a lot of time, I feel. Weekends is something that I spend mostly to shoot videos. and the 4-5 days of my work days is something that I use to generate ideas, to write scripts, and Saturday or Friday, Saturday is when I shoot videos and I edit it, and I try to be regular, but yeah, this is something this is how it goes. But to be honest, it's kind of draining. But in the end, if a video is doing well, or if I'm communicating a certain message which people have never heard of, it gives me a lot of happiness. For example, yesterday's video, which I posted, was about plastic cups having, paper cups having plastic on it. So I don't go behind the views. Like after I post, I don't look at, if it's doing well or if it's not. Yesterday night before sleeping, I was just saying, okay, did it resonate well with the audience? And it did. It got 700K views just in 3-4 hours. And that is kind of motivating in a way, like, oh, people didn't know about this. And sometimes as someone working in the field of sustainability, we take things for granted. Oh, we think that everyone knows about it, but it's not the case. And yesterday's video was one of those incidents where paper cups are being considered as an alternative, but even there are challenges with that too. And that's something that people didn't know. And that's something that gives me happiness. Like, now I have 700, it's like 7 lakh people knowing, okay, paper cups have plastic on it. Like, that's something that, keeps me happy. But yeah, that's how it is.
No, that's really, every time, like yesterday when I saw this content and I was like, oh, but people know about this. But one thing I've always, when seeing your content, kept in mind that you talk about the most basic stuff. And I realized, people like outside would not really know about this. And so I was reading the comments on it as well. And I was like, wow, people really don't know about this.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best thing about the content that you have, that, it'll talk about the most basic thing, but it'll resonate with so many people. Yeah. Just one last question, Saif, before we round this off. Is there any books or podcasts that you're listening to that you'd like to share with us?
I'm not a book reader as such, but all my knowledge comes from reading Harvard Business, those case studies, and also, through my, when I work, I get access to a lot of information through my professional space. Like, I get to learn a lot through that. So it's mostly all these reports that come out by all these big entities like UN and all those big entities. So, and then I also get to read a lot of, information from what companies are doing. So that's something that common audience don't, some reading about sustainability reports or, getting access to certain platforms. So I think those are my knowledge sources. And then, of course, normal news articles also helps. But I don't read books as such, but I try to read a lot of technical documents through work, and that's how I upskill myself and share knowledge. But if you ask me if a person should what they should follow, I feel good starting point is 1 or 2 varying degrees of sustainability creators, and not just on Instagram. I feel on LinkedIn there are a lot of them. So and LinkedIn, through that, I think they can get a lot of as a starting point, that's a good place. And then a lot of these, the Conversation is a good website, to get a varying different kind of view on these topics. Conversation.uk. So I think that's a good source which I refer to. Then there's this book called Donut Economics by Kate Raboth. So it's a different idea of how the world should work, if it's not just capitalism, how do we make sure we are living in balance with nature and stuff. So mostly to do with economics, but in the form of a donut, wherein social and sustainability elements are also incorporated in growth. So that's a good book. I think people can start reading that as well. So overall, I feel making it simple, reading things that you really like is a better start, rather than getting overwhelmed by a lot of these information. Some of them, criticizing your choices and stuff. I feel before going to that level of sustainability related content, read simple stuff, and start with small stuff, and I think that helps a lot.
No, thank you so much. That sounds very encouraging. I'll definitely pick this book up.
Really good. Yeah.
Thanks again, Saif, for your time today. Much appreciated, and best wishes for your social media platforms. If you're expanding to more than Instagram, looking forward to seeing you on the various platforms. Thank you so much for your time today.